In this video, we will be tasting and talking about batch 69 of the Ecochateas Tea Club, an organic competition grade Oolong tea. Here we are with batch 69 of the Ecochateas Tea Club, an organic competition grade Oolong tea. Given its name because this tea was prepared, well, first of all, it was sourced from a certified organic tea farm, a friend in southern Nantou County in the Yushan high mountain tea growing region, who entered a batch of tea in the first annual National Organic Tea Competition last year and achieved Silver Medal Award, the second highest category of this competition. And the competition was meant to continue this year with the intentions of expanding it yearly, and it was turned out to be canceled because of the situation caused by the COVID pandemic and the risks involved in tasting the tea and everything else that goes along with it. So our friend who painstakingly prepared this batch of tea all of a sudden had a certain amount of designated tea that was to be sent to this competition on hand. We decided to represent the competition even though it did not occur this year. And their farm is about 1,200 meters elevation, a very remote area. We started representing their produce last year and have it as an in-store item. This batch is somewhat different in the sense that it has been de-stemmed and roasted slightly to be more qualified to be entered into a competition. And then beyond that, the competition itself is encouraging the organic tea growers to step up and represent, basically, and help them to do that. So that's the main point, is helping them to do that, creating a platform for them to represent their produce, giving them a bit of a challenge to create something above and beyond their normal produce and see how they can develop both their standards of quality and their market presence. So it's a competition that was founded by the a cooperative, basically, in New Taipei City, in cooperation with other organizations there. I believe the Department of Agriculture also had a hand in either subsidizing and or producing this event. The judges are nationally certified professional tea judges. And it's a little bit unorthodox in that this is a national tea competition. There is no real set standard of quality, which stands in contrast to the regional competitions that have been kind of designated for a certain quality standard, a certain type of tea to be entered into the competition. So this has a wider spectrum of tea types. Basically the same qualifications, however. They look at the dried leaves, they look at the appearance of the brewed leaves, the appearance of the brewed tea, and of course the aroma and the flavor profile that the tea produced. I brewed a little over 11 grams of tea in 175 milliliter gaiwan for about a minute each. I have the first brew here in this cup, second and third brew in these cups, and the combination of the leftover after I poured one cup out. We have brew 1, 2, and 3 in this glass here. Brew 4 is here combined with brew 5, so we have 4 and 5 combined here. So. It's a very nice, intriguing balance of a fresh vegetal green with a kind of a winter squash or some sort of like a sweeter, deeper winter gourd kind of flavor there. Okay, so that was the first brew. It was light, fresh, with a nice sweet quality to it. It's got substance, it's got a little bit of punch that's a little stronger, a little drier on the palate. but more zing, almost a floral kind of finish there. I'm getting a sense that this tea possesses that, that a part of its flavor profile comes from being bug bitten, which is typically, or I should say almost a given with any seasonal produce from this farm. The normal practice in tea production here, especially for conventional farms, is that they'll prune the trees at the beginning of a given growing season in order to get an even and uniform new growth. That's much easier to pick, and the leaves are more of the same age, which makes it easier for them to process. This is a much more natural form of production where they just allow the trees to do what they do naturally and pick the new growth that grows from them in a given season. So it's called ye fang, basically let grow wild, could be a loose translation of it. And it's a natural growth cycle that the trees are producing themselves rather than being somewhat artificially stimulated by getting sheared and then being pushed, so to speak, or at least prompted to produce new growth quickly so they have a nice vegetation cover to do their thing, photosynthesis. Okay. I chose to use a bag of tea that I had open for a couple of weeks now. And because this particular produce from this farm, given its very organic and naturally grown nature, tends to reveal itself slowly over time in a sort of post-oxidation way. And so I'm getting a little more flavor. The roast has almost disappeared. There's just a balanced, what I consider this kind of quality standard that has almost inadvertently developed among natural or organic tea growers here, which is a mellow, not very noticeable roast level, and this kind of soothing, somewhat pastry, somewhat vegetal, somewhat savory, that kind of spectrum of a flavor profile. It's definitely got a really nice fresh zing, but it has that mellower, denser, sweeter aspect to it as well. I'm going to finish off brew one here. It does have a nutty quality, like walnuts. There's an aspect of that there too. I'm going to go for 1, 2, and 3 in the glass here. Definitely more, again, more of that woody, nutty character. Something a little more substantial. Something like walnuts, pecans, like that. Something a little oilier. Okay, so I poured off a cup from the 4th brew and then the full 5th brew in here. And the 5th brew I let sit for at least 2 minutes. All of the above with an added nose, finish in the nose it's got that savory aspect. Definitely a dried savory herb aspect in the later brews that brewed more for a longer time. So we were inspired to procure this batch to kind of represent a local phenomenon here and the process that has just begun last year of these remote organic tea farmers and their kind of long, slow process of coming into their own as organic tea producers, learning how to process their naturally grown produce in the optimal way. That's a very a long pursuit, and it really is it's a whole different ball game, really, and it's a much more complex ball game than conventional farming, where everything is much more standardized and easier to get the same result. They did a very nice job of grooming the leaves, so they removed any obvious discoloration, so you're getting kind of the cream of the crop, so to speak, with a batch of competition grade tea, a batch that has been prepared and or entered into competition. Even coloration, fairly even, The size is still varied. Like, you know, there's not oversized nuggets here, but there is some small nugs. That is possibly, very probably, due to the fact that it has been destemmed with a machine. There's a computerized scanner machine that separates and trims the stems, but in the process also ends up sometimes cutting the leaves partially and making them less whole. But it does remove the stem material, which number one allows the person roasting to get better results, but number two removes any of that extra wood material, so you get a more uniform and full flavored and complex brew from the actual brewed tea. From the leaves, brewed leaves, we can see again uniform coloration. Not very, no significant visual result of roasting. The leaves are still pretty natural in their composition, so to speak. Natural in the sense that they haven't been shriveled. Definitely thickness. You can really feel the difference in naturally farmed leaves compared. These leaves have just, they spent a lot more time on the tree, literally, growing slowly and not pumped up by fertilizers and not, as I said, stimulated by pruning the trees so that they produce growth much faster. I'm going to go one more because I really enjoyed that last brew of brew 4 and 5 the most. I should mention we've gotten to know this this farm and its produce over the last couple of years fairly well, and another rule of thumb is that these leaves brew slowly. The first brew is light. The second brew is a little more substantial. It doesn't really start brewing fully until the third, fourth, and then you really get the full substance of the leaves coming out in the brew. So be patient with that. Enjoy the lighter brews at the beginning and enjoy that process of it becoming a more and more substantial flavor profile as you brew it and enjoy it. And it does have endurance. I'm sure that for presentation sake and the fact that all my vessels are full here, I stopped at 5 brews. I'm pretty sure I could continue to brew up to 10 brews and still be enjoying the flavor profile that it offers. Sweet, thick mouthfeel, a little bit of a dry finish, nutty, walnutty, that kind of skin on walnuts or pecans, that kind of wood character, but definitely enough sweetness to balance it out. And nose, there's definitely something reminiscent of honey and that bug-bitten character that comes from naturally cultivated leaves. So there we have it, organic competition grade Oolong tea, harvested in spring 2021. Prepared for the competition that was set for June and that was canceled this year, so we're able to offer this batch with the Tea Club. Please let us know what you think by adding your comments below this video or on our blog posts, and we really would like to hear what you have to say about each batch that we share with the Tea Club. We'll see you next month.